Hello, everybody. This is the static site editor issue refinement session. And in today's session, we're going to be talking about an issue that asks us to ensure that the static site editor is instrumented for usage ping data. And for those that aren't sure what that is, so for self-hosted GitLab customers, there's a usage ping that sends back aggregated data to GitLab that we use to help understand the usage of various product features. It's an opt-in feature that customers can opt out of, so there's no privacy concerns. And we'd like to make sure that we get some data back um, from uh, from self-hosted customers to be able to understand whether we only have customers on GitLab.com on our SaaS platform, or whether self-hosted customers are also using the static site editor. And that will be valuable information for us as we make plans for the future. I'm going to share my screen. All right, chat, can you see my screen fine?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Before I get started, are you familiar with the usage ping?
I know nothing about this.
All right. I know very little about it as well, which is why I put it on for refinement, because I I know we've implemented snowplow tracking, um, which GitLab snowplow, um, but I don't know. With my understanding is that this does not relate to usage ping. Um, and I need to actually understand a little bit more about this to understand. Like I know we capture the snowplow data, but this data.
There's a page on it in the docs that I sent. What is
Yeah,
usage ping? Yeah.
what is right? So snowplow is an enterprise-grade marketing product analytics platform. Blah blah. Okay, so that's fine. But I want to know whether this. What I really want to know is whether snowplow is enabled for self-hosted customers. Um, or if it's only in GitLab.com. Because if we might, so let's go to telemetry guide.
See the limitations link on that
Yeah.
page I sent. It says,
Um, just get to the chat.
because of these limitations, we recommend instrumenting your products with Snowplow for analytics on GitLab.com and use usage ping to track aggregated backend events on self-managed.
Okay. I'm not
Does
doing.
that mean Snowplow only works on GitLab.com? And on self-managed,
You
you can
might.
only get
Oh
backend
yeah.
events.
Usage ping does not track front-end events like page views, link clicks, or user sessions, and only focuses on aggregated backend events. Because
Hmm.
of these limitations, we recommend instrumenting your product with Snowplow for more detailed analytics and use. All right, so that almost implies that Snowplow is not available on self-managed, but it,
Seems like it. And we can
yeah,
only get backend on.
yeah, and you can only get backend aggregated data with the usage ping.
So there's
Um,
developing and testing usage ping uh, section at the bottom of that page too.
um, yeah, so why should we enable since a weekly payload
Yeah, it looks like this
opens?
developing and testing section has fairly detailed instructions of what we need to do.
All right. It still doesn't tell me.
Queries.
It still doesn't tell me that where the snowplow is disabled. Tracking can be enabled at the instance level, which enables tracking both the front end and so I assume one of the user one of the um, one of the issues with Snowplow is twofold. Um, it it obviously it respects the do not track standard in browsers, so it doesn't report everything. And so if you want to have um, more true database level, I guess, analytics of events, then yes, it makes sense to have to use usage ping. But also the fact that some self-hosted customers are in air-gapped environments where there's no ability to make calls out to the internet. So, um, which is what Snowplow would require. So that would basically make Snowplow unreliable as a true um, reflection of data. Would you agree with that?
That's what it seems like.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you can do it in the backend as well. It seems implementing Snowplow Ruby backend tracking. GitLab provides GitLab tracking, an interface that wraps a Snowplow Ruby tracker for custom tracking events.
I
But
found
still,
something.
yeah.
Let me send you this link. Oops, there it is. So this is the direction page for telemetry. Build collection framework, current state, snowplow, eventually available on self-managed.
All right. So it's planned, but it's not available right now. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that makes it very clear why we need usage bin. Okay, so
Okay, I think that other page is pretty detailed on what we need to do for usage ping, the developer guide.
yeah, so that's on this one here. But now, what I want to do is quickly just talk about what it is this issue is asking of us. So the static side is returning usage analytics, but it appears to only be for SaaS.com users, which is correct because Snowplow is not available for self-managed at this stage. We need to have visibility into how our self-hosted users are taking advantage of the feature. All right, proposal. Determine first whether or not we are getting data. Okay, so yeah, we can start editing. So proposal, we know we are not getting data from usage bin. If not, determine if we can get data. Yes, we know we can't. If so, instrument for usage bin. Okay, and update dashboard. So proposal is that we need to instrument the static site editor for usage ping data, update dashboards, and this would be specifically this one. Oh, now I've gone. Let me just get into where is our board now? Where did I handbook? No. Let's just get into Sisense quickly and get to that dashboard. It's a team metrics dashboard. No, it's the static site editor usage metrics. This one. All right. So this is the dashboard that Eric is using for his overall usage determination. So update that update what are we calling this? Static site editor usage metrics dashboard. Static site editor usage dashboard. And thanks to new little shortcuts, we can just do that. All right. Right, so instrument the static site editor is string now details. further details. I think we need to refer back to the issue where we implemented the original tracking to see, in order to track on NOS, every commit generated in the static site generator. So that's our key further details. Okay, so the uh, event data we want to track is every commit generated from the static site editor. We also session data in the static site editor is initialized. Um, okay. One commit is equal to one merge request, that's fine. First, we should track how many projects get created. Right now, we only record commits, initialized editor, and create merge request. Okay, so those are the three. Even though create merge request right now is part of the create commit and create merge request is part of the same flow, we do record it as separate events. Which is quickly check here. So that click drop down is actually there. Create commit, create merge request, initialize editor. All right. So the other one we want to capture data conversation. So initialized. Every time a commit is generated, and every time a merge request is created from the static site. All right. So that's the event data we want to track.
Do you want to throw a
Now,
link to that developer guide in there?
yeah, definitely want to do that. Okay, further details. Link to usage in developer guide. Okay, so that gives us that. The next thing I wanted to look at is, so the way I understand it is that these are all individual events that we record. Now, my understanding from the usage ping is that it's aggregated counts. It's not necessarily individual events that will come back, if I understand it. And also, does this show up in sizesense? Yeah, it does. So we can query this data in sizesense. The usage ping cron job is set in Sidekick to run weekly. When the cron job runs, it calls GitLab usage data. GitLab usage cascades down to 400 plus other counter method calls. The response of all method calls are merged together in a single JSON payload. JSON payload is posted to the versions application. There are several types of counters which are all found in usage data. Ordinary batch counters, so a simple count of a given active record relation. Distinct count of a given active record column. Used for in-memory count, used for setting some of the values of an. So why batch counting? For large tables, procedure can take a long time to count rows. Batch counting is a counting method where a single large query is broken into smaller queries. Merge request. So it almost seems like we're going to get aggregated counts from an instance. Again, we can get aggregated counts from an instance against, these three events.
We could get row counts of a
Yes, yes. So,
table.
so okay, so we record each time these events occur, which creates a row entry. But in terms of the usage data that gets sent back, it's not the individual row entries, it's the aggregate counts. Is that also your understanding?
Yes. I guess what I'm unclear on is we need to make a new table to capture these things, to capture the commits, or could we use an existing table?
I think there's existing ones, but let's quickly just go through. So use your Rails console to generate a SQL query, optimize queries with database, blah, 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 blah. Add the metric. When adding, changing, or updating metrics, please update the event dictionary's usage ping date table. That's this. So I guess this count issues created from alerts. See, this is where we would want to add things. And we can look at like web IDE commits, web IDE merge requests, web IDE views. This is essentially what we want to replicate. Count of views of the web IDE, count of commits from the web IDE, count of merge requests created from the web IDE. Essentially, this is exactly what we want, just for the static site editor. Let's add this one.
So we need to add an event.
Yeah, the web
event
IDE
dictionary.
tracks similar events. Do you want we to capture, refer to event dictionary?
There's also a link, event dictionary for usage ping. There's an issue about it. Last sentence in that paragraph, or in that section.
Event dictionary. We currently have an initiative across the entire to complete the event dictionary. Was this created a month ago?
Dev section.
Jerome. So Jerome runs telemetry. Oh no,
Dev create static site editor.
They've now changed it to, I think, product analytics.
So if you click through that issue, we have a line in the table there that has metric assigned 0. Yeah, there.
Here we go.
So I assume this is going to give us a 1 there.
Metric. Well, we're going to want 3 metrics.
Okay, however many we have.
Yeah. So. I wonder. Okay. I'm not going to worry about that for right now. Let me become flexible. It should also include blah blah blah. Open the event dictionary, fill in all the PM to edit columns highlighted in yellow. So this isn't yellow, this is orange. Who calls this yellow?
It's more of a
sorry,
peach.
Semantics. Peach? No, Chad. That's peach. That's orange.
All right, it's orange. Salmon.
Um,
No.
all right. So these aren't steps, right? I mean, add new metric to versions application. See, this is now check if the new metric needs to be added to the version. See, usage data schema and usage data parameters accepted. Any metric on the account keys are say change log, ask for it to level to review, test with on test with GitLab. Okay, so this is an example payload. Let's see if this web IDE. Client side exporting usage. Okay, so well, I mean that's not what we really need to care about. What we really want to developing and testing is the feature. I wonder if there's an MR that we can use specialized indexes. I mean, they seem to have examples for every step, but really nice. So I know I mentioned in this here an example where enable added a whole bunch of metrics to the user thing which might be useful to reference. Let's see if we can find an MR that added something. Collect timeout, collect sending status, remove CPU architecture, performance instrumentation of let's see term support.
Do we need to do it via Redis?
I'm
Is
not
that
sure.
maybe preferred?
I just want to see submit failures with topology usage. No, that's not what we want. We want, right?
So if you look at the Redis section, it does have some links to examples like wiki page counter.
Redis counters.
Pointers to code.
Oh, okay. It actually
So I don't
helps
know if this is
tracking.
only to track stuff that is otherwise in Redis, or if Redis is an acceptable
Yeah,
way to do it without having to create a table.
track a usage event for incident created in GraphQL. So now I'm wondering,
That seems like a way to do it.
issues update service. See, the problem is right now, we're our calls to create the merge request, and the commit is all done via the REST API, and we 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 hit that via the front end. So
Right,
we don't have a controller that we can add
but
a
we can
call
create one.
into
We can add a new action or a new controller, which is
to
solely to populate this Redis event
okay.
showing
So
how it
we
says. So do that
so
before or after whatever the event points we want are at.
so my question is, do we create um, a controller action that acts as a proxy for creating the commit and the merge request and call that and have that then call the relevant service, or do we call it in addition to calling the API?
Do we need to figure that out in the issue, or do we just need to call it out as a decision and let the MR implementer
Yeah,
decide?
you're right.
Are you a
And I think,
developer, John?
oh, Chad, I am not. Um, Considerations. Um, Currently, the static site editor.
My preference on it though would be to keep the back end as simple as possible and let the front end be the more complex part that handles coordinating
Yeah,
this stuff.
I would almost. So currently, the front end does it in a promise chain. So I would, in the success call of each of those promises, just make an additional call to an action in our controller that then will take care of adding the event for us.
Right. When you do it on the front end also, it lets us, if we need to have a lot more granular control over progress and stuff like that.
Yeah, currently
Not blocking on back end requests that may be doing a lot of stuff.
yeah.
And I have to say I like the simplicity of the back end. Like the fact that we don't have a lot of backend code because backend development it's a lot slower. Running the test is slower, everything about it is slower than doing the front end work.
Would you extend our current static site editor controller with just with another action, or have a specific controller that just deals with event tracking? But
Um,
again, it's implementation detail.
Either of those are acceptable approaches. I just had a friend
Yeah.
tweet that experienced Rails developer I've worked with who said that he likes to make a lot of different controllers. Uh, Personally, I think that's kind of okay because then you have smaller specs. You don't have this giant spec that's dealing with a bunch of non-cohesive things in the same controller.
Yeah. For making arrangement is to consider adding a controller action that can be called front end to record uh, event. Currently, the front end already makes calls for snow plow tracking, and like I almost think there should be an abstraction on the front end where the static site editor from from the components, it just says track event, and then the abstraction goes and makes the necessary call for snowplow and for um, usage ping, so that we don't have to keep maintaining two things all at the same time.
Yeah, when I did the config file, I think all of these should start with just reviewing a couple, three instances of how other areas are doing it, uh,
Yeah.
especially more recent ones to look at the best practices. And it's great to get your head around it. And then also, like for the config file, I was able to just reuse a lot of those tests. Some of them needed to be cleaned up a little bit, and I cargo culted a bit, but it made it much faster than just try to write all the tests from scratch myself to just use something that was really similar and change the names.
So one of the things is we need to add front end label to this issue, because it's definitely going to require some front end work. Not that we see you can't do it, just adding an indication there. Currently, front end already makes calls for snowplow tracking, and that consider abstracting the event tracking away from the front from the static site editor components and have abstraction take care of making necessary. Okay. Okay, let's see what we have. We define the problem. The proposal is instrument is search for usage ping data, update the static side usage dashboard. This for me is actually not part of the updating the dashboard is not the job of the engineer. That would be for product to do. And I know Eric has been working with someone from the data team already to. So I'm not going to make the requirement, like the pro instrument the static site editor for usage ping data. Further details. The event data we want to track is or are. No, it's are. Let's just ignore it. Event data we want to track. Every time the static site is initialized, every time I commit this, every time I link to usage ping developer guide. Prior art, the web ID already tracks similar events to what we want to capture, refer to the event dictionary. We want to consider reviewing their implementation of how they handle tracking both snowplow and usage ping events. Considerations. Currently, the settings are okay. This feels better defined for me now.
Yeah, not bad. Starting from something we both knew nothing about.
Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
this
The
actually,
documentation is really good in GitLab. It's
yeah,
pretty amazing.
yeah. I mean, previously, I didn't know where to start with an issue like this. Now, actually, I know there's another piece of the application that does what we want to do. I know there's developer guides. I think this sets, in this case, was really up for a better start to this issue. All right. I'm gonna call this ready for development. All right. And that is all she wrote for this issue refinement session. We'll stop the recording and we can